So delighted to be joined today by Jacob Lees-Johnson, Alexis Zollicoffer, and Noah Kershisnik from I See the Demon. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi.
Hi, thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Thanks very much for giving me your time today. First off, I'll start with yourself, Jacob. You being the director, writer, producer, the man of many talents. How did the story, well, for those that haven't seen it or those that are going to catch it, what is the kind of basic synopsis, if you can give that, for I See the Demon?
Yeah, it's a little tricky with this film because there's a lot going on, both
Mm,
narratively and thematically. But basically, it's a dinner from hell movie. Essentially,
mm,
it's about a young woman who's kind of emotionally vulnerable. She comes home to a surprise birthday party, and everything seems great. She's surrounded by her loved ones, all her friends that she has cherished for years. But she starts to notice little things that are maybe off. Um, and she brings them up, but everybody says like, "Oh no, um, but as the night progresses and things get a little more and more disturbing and unsettling, and then when the people around her are still saying everything is fine, that's when Lucy, the character, starts to realize, oh, there's a problem here. There's something really wrong with what's going on, and she has to learn who she can trust, who she can't trust, and whether or not she can trust herself and what she's experiencing. So it's a sci-fi psychological horror. I've heard it described as a psychedelic psychodrama, which is, I think, maybe my favorite little
yeah,
quip about it, because it does have kind of every piece. It's got horror elements, it's got sci-fi elements, and it's also like a character-driven drama. So
yeah,
like I said, it's a lot going on.
yeah, definitely. And how did you come about to the story that you wanted to tell? Has it always been, we- as I said to you before we came on, we keep it relatively spoiler free, which is going to be a difficult thing to discuss. Did
Yeah.
you start it out with those twists and turns, and how did the story develop for you?
Yeah, so I think the specific idea I cannot say because that would be just a straight up spoiler. But
Mm,
on the character side, I can talk about that. That there was basically a friendship in my life that the person that I was friends with just disappeared, and I don't know why. I don't know why they stopped communicating with me. It's possible I did something wrong. I don't even know,
yeah,
But I literally have not seen this person since, or had any contact. So maybe it was me. Maybe I did something really wrong. I don't know, but I don't know, and that was a disturbing experience. And so on the one hand, it kind of uh, made me think about this idea of like, do I know the people that I care about? Do I actually know them? Um, and so and then also on the other hand, do I actually know myself? Do I have some kind of blind spot to some things that I'm doing that are not, that people don't like, or that are hurting people or something like that? And so that was the genesis point for this film, or at least kind of from the character emotional standpoint.
mm,
And then that developed into just wanting to explore what an unhealthy relationship looks like, with which has a bunch of different inspiration points as well.
mm.
But that's basically it.
Um, cool. Um, Alexis and Noah, you play Lucy and Ellis respectively. When were you first aware of the movie, and how did you get brought on board for it?
I've known Jacob since college. We were at film school together, and I did wardrobe for his capstone. I was the wardrobe guy for his capstone project, his final thing, and we've just been friends. And then we kind of hadn't spoken too much, but we reconnected, made a little short film that we just like a for fun thing, and then he's like, "Let's do this every month," and then he's like, "Actually, instead, let's make a movie." That was awesome. And I really like Jacob and I like his work, everything I've seen that he's made, and so I was just excited to work with him on a bigger project than just I'd worked with him on a couple shorts, but it was exciting
Mm,
to do a big thing, a feature.
cool.
I received the audition while I was filming a film called Freaky Tales. It's on HBO. You should check it out, and it's very good. Um, and I initially was like, oh, I'm so tired. I really don't want to do this, because I'd filmed 3 films that year and a TV show. And it was the first time in my life I was also filming commercials and just going literally every single week. I was in a different state. And I was like, oh, I can't. January was supposed to be my freedom. Like I was supposed to just be free. But then I got the audition, and I worked on it, and I sent it in, and I did like the scene, and I felt really good about it. But I honestly forgot all about it, because I was like, all right, back to set. Let's keep working on this other film. And then I get the call back, and I honestly don't remember that at all. I think Jacob and we talked, and that was great. And then they offered it and sent the script, and then I kind of said the same thing to my manager, which was like, oh man, like I really don't want to do this. I'm so tired. And then she's like, just read the script. And then I read the script, and I went, oh, this is amazing. And Lucy's so great. And no, wait, she's mine now. Nobody else can have her. And actually, I'll fight you. Because the idea of giving her up, it was so painful. And it's so interesting. I listened to a podcast recently where an actress said, even if I'm exhausted, if I read a script and go, oh, will I feel upset when I see this later, when somebody else is in the role? How will I feel? Will I be okay? And it's like, oh, this is one of those things. It's like, no, I wouldn't have been okay if I would have seen this pop up on hopefully like Netflix or Hulu or whatever we can maybe get it on. And if I would have seen it, I would have been like, that should have been me. So yeah, that's my little story, and I'm really glad that I didn't let my current emotional state stop me from being a part of it.
Good
Me
stuff.
too.
And yeah, yeah. You've got the character Lucy that you said, you grew attached to, and it became yours. With yourself and Noah, who's played Ellis, they're characters that are in a relationship together. How did you feel as you were filming, like the development of Lucy through you, and Noah for yourself with Ellis, and forming that bond? And Jacob, you've spoke as well about the kind of the sort of toxic relationships that are prevalent throughout that. Was it something that you felt kind of developed naturally as the movie was going? Was there anything that was adjustments to, or you felt you had to adjust yourself to?
Who wants to go first?
Okay. I read the script every single day,
Mm.
and I had a lot of conversations just about each scene. I would wake up in the mornings, do homework, and then jump on a Zoom with a friend, and then we would talk about the scenes that day and what Lucy was thinking and why she was feeling this way. And we would run the lines, but we mainly talked about the psychology behind what Lucy was going through, and shared stories about what we had been through and what we were going through, and things that felt really similar. And then I would go to set, and Noah and I had this like unspoken thing that just began to happen, where it's like when we were down in the basement where our green rooms were, we were just like, hey buddy, how are you? Didn't really chat that much. But then when we were up in the house, it was like we were now Lucy and Alice, and we were just very communicative about, well, how are you feeling about this? No, it's okay. You can grip my hand a little bit harder. And we would really, because we wanted it to feel, I don't like, I'm not a method actor, but I don't like acting. I do believe that you should experience, because that's the only way to really capture a human experience, is to experience what's happening. And so um, we had a lot of conversations about, especially things that were going on. Like there's like not to give too much of a spoiler, but there's a scene where I'm like on the floor and they're trying to force something inside of my mouth. And I was like, nah, just do it. And everybody was like, what? And I was like, yes. I was like, I'm not going to fake, choke. Like, it'll be fine, And of course, after we did it a couple of times and I knew what that felt like, we didn't have to actually put that thing in my mouth anymore. I knew what the sensation was like, but I needed to experience it first so that I knew how to portray it. Noah?
Yeah, I feel like the trick is always to, like, whether you're a trusting relationship or like maybe there's elements of distrust or even hate each other. For me, the trick is always to develop a rapport with the other actors that you're working with, or specifically someone you're in a relationship with, so that there's trust there. It's like Alexis trusts Noah, even when Lucy maybe doesn't trust Ellis or whatever. That we can trust each other, and we can know that we're there to take care of each other and make sure that we are safe, especially when, for example, we're trying to force a pill in your mouth or whatever, and it feels very real because it's like, well, let's make this as real as safely possible. We need to be able to trust each other. I was watching, I'm sure he's safe, but I was watching Gangs of New York, and what's his name? The famous method actor.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis. And he like hits that knife into the wall right next to somebody's face. And I was like, man, I know that he gets so into these characters. That would be very terrifying. I hope they have to process that. Because is he just going to kill me right now because he's too into the character? I'm sure he wouldn't. I know he's a good actor, but that's the things that you think about. Is like, how can I make you feel the fear you need to as your character while still trusting me as an actor? And luckily, I think Alexis and I were on the same page on that, and we're able to develop that trust and relationship as actors that can then support the characters as they interact in the scene.
Yeah, and I would just kind of say that for me, it was just a joy to work with both of them. I love getting into the nitty gritty of people's emotions and experiences, and I like to go deep. I have a hard time with small talk, and so it was just I love just being able to sit there with both Alexis and Noah individually, and then together, and we just dug in. We just dug in, and there's not really any specific method or tactic or anything like that I used. It was just digging into the characters and the emotions and talking about what they would be feeling and how they would be reacting and the decisions that they'd make. And so that was just a joy. And I mean, I honestly don't even really remember what we did or what we talked about, which I think is a good sign for me, because it was a joy, and I think the only things that I remember are like bad times, like a bad moment. Like one time when Noah was, it was like a very specific sort of shot, and I was like, and we were trying to get Noah to react in a very specific way. And he turned and he said, "I don't know how I'm not doing what you're telling me to do." And like, I remember that because that was a moment where things weren't gelling and I was being maybe too like specific or like trying to, like micromanage his performance in a way. But barring those little moments, it was just a joy to dig in. That's the way I'd put it.
I love that you said that, Noah. There's so many times on set, especially recently, where a director will just like let's try this again, and that's what you're thinking in your head. Well, what am I not doing? Like I feel like I'm doing it. So like what do you want? And I had a director once, my very first movie, he screamed at me, "Be better, just act better." And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the worst thing that's ever happened. But since then I've heard other like very respected actors say that directors have said that to them, and I'm just like, wow, I'm glad that wasn't just me being a terrible actress, that it's just them. And this is not on you at all, Jacob. I never felt this way, but it's just like that director just being a bad director, not being able to communicate. And Jacob and I communicated all the time, like constantly, like before scenes, after scenes, during scenes, constantly communicating about where we were and what needed to happen in scenes. But yeah, that's just like a funny. I'm glad I'm not the only person who's like, what am I?
Yeah, that's an example of bad directing or anything necessarily. It's happened many times. I agree, it happens all the time where you like do the take and the director's like, okay, let's try it this way, and it's hard to say, okay, that's what I think I just did. So we're going to need to talk a bit more because you obviously want something else, and that was basically what I was trying to do. So let's talk maybe specifics even, because I know directors are wanting a lot of times. It's like, don't give a line read, for example, or don't say do it with, what's that joke, like happier and with your mouth open. But, sometimes it's like, look, if you want to get more specific, let's talk more. And the fact that I said it to you, Jacob, means that I trusted you to help me get where you want.
Yeah, I'm not a yeller.
Yeah.
And talking about, your communication between each other and having that working relationship on set, was everything, again, trying to be spoiler free here, was everything on the plate, was everything out in front of you as you were filming, so there wasn't any, like Jacob, did you keep any of the twists back, or was it all there from the get-go?
In terms of, yeah, yeah, I would say I think everybody, all the actors had the whole script, so everybody knew.
They had the opportunity to read it, whether they did or
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Archie didn't read it, but anyway.
Okay, I was not gonna say that.
He admitted it. It was fine. Anyway, he didn't need to. It was fine, and that actually helped his performance. So, like for that example, one of the characters who is a secondary character, he chose not to read the script and just wanted to be in the moment, and that helped him do what he needed to do. But yeah, so I think it was basically necessary, especially for Alexis and Noah and some of the other people, to really know exactly where we are, because there are some twists and turns, and they needed to know both where their character was and where their character is going in order to give a meaningful, authentic performance, I'd say.
I remember reading the script for the first time home alone, and it was one of the times, this doesn't always happen, but I was vocally emoting as I was going, whoa, oh, and stuff like that, and also then getting scared, just being home alone in like a dark house in the evening, and like it was freaking me out as I read the script. And afterward, I was like, man, that was amazing. I laughed at things, and I cried, and I like, yeah, emoted. This is a good script. I'm excited about this project.
Definitely. And for myself, going into it, initially I had a feeling maybe a bit of the invitation, and when it's that sort of build up, wasn't expecting any of the twists. I think you've pulled them off brilliantly. I had no idea where it was going, and it just worked fantastically well. And I think you discussing the relationships that Alexis, yourself, and Noah as Lucy and Ellis have that. There is that underlying tension which comes across really well. And Alexis, your character Lucy with Billy, which there seems maybe a bit more softness to between the two of you. I think, having that sort of dichotomy between those two relationships, I think adds to the emotional kind of heft of it as well, and makes it more than an A to Z sort of, even though it's bits aren't A to Z, but you know what I mean, like that A to Z horror sci-fi, if you want to call it that. And Alexis, how did you feel, working those two relationships together?
Oh, it's been an interesting. Sorry. So the relationship between Billy and Lucy is so fascinating to me because, and strike this off if I'm not allowed to say it, because Billy is Lucy's father figure, but also not real.
Yeah.
And so, and am I allowed to say that, or do you want me to start over?
No, that's fine. Because I think it'll probably be released afterwards. Anyway, after this premiere's been, so people will want to catch that way. It'll be all good.
Okay, great. So let's talk about it, and cut me off if I go too long. I worked a lot about Billy and the well, what is that like being a teenage girl and waking up one day and realizing, oh, this is like a living boy, and he's like cute, and what's that like? And then having what was Mallory's character name again?
Chrissy.
Chrissy. And then, of course, Chrissy's coming over. And did Chrissy ever have a crush on Billy? Did Chrissy ever try to kiss Billy? Did we ever try to kiss Billy? Like, what was that like? And just like those really like inappropriate but real human thoughts and feelings. Like, when does Billy stop being her parent and start being someone who's just parentified, but also she's very aware that, oh, I can just like do it. I could just like push you over and like that's fine. You know, and did she ever do that? Did she ever abuse him? Did she ever, or was she always just like deifying him? You know, and so there's all of these complex emotions that I feel like Lucy would have had with Billy, and I wanted to explore all of them because I felt like that was going to then play really well. And then what does that feel like for Ellis to see? Because maybe Lucy said, like, oh yeah, this one time I kissed Billy. I just wanted to know what it was like, you know? And then Alice is like, great. You know, because Billy's living in the house with her,
Yeah.
and he's like, you know, and as a man who is controlling, being like Alice being that person, how does he feel now about Billy? And I know that there's a great scene that I did end up watching, so I haven't seen the film all the way through, but I did go look for that particular scene that Jacob and Noah had talked about between Ellis and Billy, and I was like, oh yeah, there's so much tension there because it's almost, we talked about, it's almost like a love triangle between, you know, Lucy loving Billy because Billy knows her like nobody else, and she trusts Billy like no one else. But then she also has this relationship with Ellis that Billy cannot be a part of because he's not real, and she also like probably wouldn't seriously romantically consider Billy as a romantic partner. And then how does Billy feel about that? And does that bother him? Has the lines blurred for him? She's a young woman now. We see this in history all the time. I'm a nerd, I'm sorry. But we see it in history all the time of like back in the, you know, 15, 1600s, you know, uncles raising their nieces and then marrying them later, and it's like a totally normal thing throughout like history. And so like how does that, is that happening there? Like how does that relationship, and it's for me, talking and thinking about all these very uncomfortable things made all of the character relationships so much richer and better. And so you do see the moments of tension between all three of them. Noah.
No, I think that that there's a lot of Ellis that is uh, wanting to control, and I don't think out of not malicious desire to control, just like a, we've all thought like, I wish, you know, your best friend is dating someone that they're just not a good person, or it's just a bad relationship, and you're just like, I wish I could just make you stop, you know. And I think, and it's like, I love you, so I want to make you stop. Or like someone with a drug problem, or something like that. It's like, I wish I could help you to have a better life. And I think Ellis just feels like, yeah, I know what would be good for you, and I'm going to do it. And he is a controlling person, um, and I think that his relationship with Billy is interesting because he can control Billy in very direct ways. You know, Billy has to do what he says. Um,
Yeah.
and Billy says, "You're part of the family now." Is all Billy says about that, actually. When Ellis says, "I feel like a king when I'm around Billy." You're part of the family now. Um, and yeah, but at the same time, like you're saying, there's this closeness that Billy and Lucy have that, in a lot of ways, no matter, even if it was a great relationship and a perfect relationship, um, Ellis and Lucy will never have that relationship. But Ellis and Lucy have a relationship that Billy will never have. So I think, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it is a love triangle essentially, and that's how I kind of looked at it in my own head, but just different forms of love. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, you know, you've got this group of people that are stuck in this kind of single, very short moment in time, and being able to get all those character traits from the whole cast as well. You know, they all have their own quirks, their own emotions, and their own ticks, and getting that to come across so well, and what, just slightly over 80 minutes as well on a kind of cycle, I think comes across really well for the movies, and as I said, it just takes it that kind of level up. I'm not. I know you've had a very Busy morning where you are, maybe. I'm kind of afternoon, possibly. I'm in Glasgow, so we're like nearly. I'm close to my bedtime. So I was just going to wrap up a little bit. So you've got it's shown at Grimmfest on Friday, 10th of October at 1 o'clock. Are any of you making it across for that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We all,
all three of us will be there. Yeah.
yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. So
great.
night out in Manchester, and it'll be Manchester's a great city if you've never been before, so I'm sure you'll have a great time. And seeing, the horror crowd is always one of the best to kind of watch a movie with. And Jacob, we kind of spoke a wee bit beforehand about getting to see it on the big screen and not having the phone experience as the kind of living room phone experience. Is that important
Yeah.
for you, and you're getting to witness that as well?
Yeah, this is definitely the way to experience the movie. We made it for to be seen on the big screen and to be able to just sit and focus on the movie from start to finish and to go on this journey that doesn't go where you expect it to go. Where you could be scared one minute and be really emotional. In one of our previous screenings, one of the most gratifying things that they said, that one of the audience members said, was, "I did not expect to be brought to tears in this movie," and so, not that everyone's going to have that reaction, but that was really great that it reached somebody that deeply. So we hope people come and see it, basically.
Yeah, excellent. So I'll let you go there, Jacob, Alexis, Noah. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the screening and keep in touch, and we'll speak to you next time.
All right, thank you very much.
And